The blizzard hit Montana like a freight train that December night in 1890, whipping snow across the plains with a fury that could bury a man alive. Jack Reynolds gripped his lantern on the porch of his isolated ranch house, staring at the figure slumped against his door. It was Laura Bennett, the widowed teacher from Silver Ridge, her sodden coat hugging a form that turned heads even in the harshest winters. Behind him, his empty home loomed, and the forecast promised a 3-day whiteout that could shatter reputations or ignite long-suppressed fires. Jack had sworn to his dying mother at 18 to hold out for a woman who deserved his heart entirely. But as Laura's green eyes flickered open, locking onto his with raw desperation amid the screaming wind, that vow felt like a noose tightening around his soul. The untouched rancher stood at his crossroads. Would his honor shield him, or would it finally shatter? Not every shackle is iron. Some are woven from devotion, obligation, and a mother's last words. Jack learned this kneeling by his ma's bedside in their modest shack near Bozeman. Mary Reynolds had raised him alone after his pa fell to a Comanche raid, working as a laundress and cook. With her fading breath, she clutched his hand. "Jack, promise you'll wait for the right one, not like your father, chasing skirts in every tavern. Wait for true love." He swore it, an 18-year-old kid honoring the only parent he'd known. But oaths to the departed can trap the living. By 35, Jack towered at 6 feet 3 inches, built like a Montana pine from herding cattle on his 800-acre spread. His hands were rough from ropes, but precise enough to drop a coyote at 100 yards. Folks in Silver Ridge whispered the chased cowboy behind his back, watching him dodge dance hall girls and avert his gaze from the baker's flirtations. They missed the sleepless nights where he stared at the rafters, questioning if his ma's words were a safeguard or a curse. Laura Bennett knew isolation's sting. For years since typhoid claimed her husband, for years teaching rowdy kids while her own dreams of family faded. At 42, her beauty unfolded quietly, like dawn over the rocky shiny blonde hair, streaked with gray, pinned neatly but begging to tumble loose. Green eyes that held stories from late-night novels and quiet regrets. She boarded in a cramped attic above the school, scraping by on her salary and steering clear of town gossip. But blizzards don't respect boundaries. December 22nd, 1890, the chill bit like knives, freezing breath mid-air. Laura had no option. Young Billy Harlan spiked a fever on his family's remote homestead, and the doc was snowed in at Helena. She saddled her gelding with remedies and soup, reaching them as the storm's edge darkened the sky. Billy pulled through by midday, but the return trek turned hellish, blinding flurries, gale-force winds shrieking like banshees. Her horse, Rusty, battled drifts for miles before slipping into a concealed ravine, the crack of bone echoing like doom. Stranded on foot with 4 miles left and dust crashing down, Laura fought on, boots filling with snow, hands numb as stones. When Jack's cabin emerged from the haze, its lamplight a beacon of hope, she staggered the final stretch and pounded weakly on the door. It swung open, and she met eyes as steady as the mountain's Jack's. Something in him fractured, not his principles, but the fortress around his core. Laura shivered violently, lips tinged blue, snow jewels in her lashes, her dress molded scandalously to her shape. "Help, please," she gasped. Jack didn't waver. No decent soul would abandon her to the freeze. He lifted her effortlessly, carrying her inside like fragile cargo. As the doors sealed them in, fate rewrote their paths. The storm howled for 3 days, confining them to a space tighter than a corral. Perhaps it's the erasure of the world outside, or a fire's glow becoming life itself. But isolation peels away facades, especially when survival hangs by a thread. Jack's place was Spartan. 1 room with a brick hearth, a single bed against the wall, and a small table. He draped her wet coat by the flames and offered dry garb as plaid shirt, swallowing her to mid-thigh, socks climbing her legs. Turn away, she murmured, voice strengthening with warmth. He faced the wall, but his mind raced, envisioning buttons undone, fabric slipping from pale skin. Okay now. Turning, his pulse skipped. Laura by the fire, transformed his shirt, accentuating her form, hair cascading in waves. She looked vital, eyes holding a worldly spark. Thank you. They ate sparse stew quietly, wind battering the walls. But quiet between strangers breeds tension glances that stretch, awareness simmering like coals. Town talks about you, Laura said, breaking the hush. Jack flushed. The chased cowboy. The label stung like salt in a wound. What they say ain't my concern. Laura leaned in, eyes soft with firelight. Is it true? He could have dodged, but the storm's intimacy unlocked him. Promised my ma on her deathbed. Wait for the right woman. Felt right then. Silence stretched. 35 years faithful, she whispered, her hand over his. The contact jolted like thunder. That makes you the noblest man in Montana or the loneliest. His gaze met hers, heart pounding. Maybe both. Day 2 brought no break, but Victor Slade did trouble on horseback. Jack chopped wood out back when riders pierced the veil. Victor on his black stallion, flanked by 2 goons, Harlan boys who traded muscle for booze. Victor owned the Golden Nugget Saloon and its sins, portly at 48 with a venomous streak, especially toward Laura. He'd pursued her relentlessly for months, gifts, invites, propositions that curdled her blood. Reynolds, Victor bellowed. Jack rounded the corner, rifle ready but low. Got something of mine. Through the window, Jack spied Laura in his shirt, hair unbound intimate exposed. A fierce protectiveness surged. She's sheltering from a storm. Nothing more. Victor's sneer twisted. Sheltering? The chased cowboy finally snagged a peace hand, a secondhand one at that. The slur ignited rage. Jack's grip tightened. Apologize, Slade, or regret it. Victor laughed cruelly. What? Gonna fight over some faded widow? I'll pay ya. Boy breaking you in with experience. Jack leveled the rifle, chambering around. Last chance. Tension snapped. Victor reached for his revolver. Jack fired first shot, grazed one of Harlan's arms, spinning him off. Second shot shattered the other's pistol grip. Victor's draw halted as a bullet whistled past his ear. Next one center mass. Pale-faced, Victor retreated. This ain't done, but as they vanished, Jack knew he'd evolved from oath-bound boy to defender of what mattered. And she waited within. Laura stood by the pain, having witnessed his shift to lethal guardian. You risked everything. Some risks are worth it. Her eyes burned with want, no horror at the violence. What am I to you, Jack? The query bridged their divide. He set the gun aside, hands shaky from the aftermath, turning to desire. Everything. She closed the gap barefoot, shirt translucent in firelight. Your ma's promise. He traced her cheek. What if she's you and I was blind? Her lids shut at his touch. I'm no innocent, Jack. 42, widowed. I've known intimacy and emptiness. We fill each other's voids. Tears glisten not sorrow, but release. I haven't felt wanted in years. Wondered if I was just a relic. He cradled her face. Laura, you're stunning Sal deep. She rose, lips grazing his. Show me. The kiss started gently, exploratory, then flared like a prairie fire. Jack drew her close. She yielded with a sigh that unraveled decades. What followed was patient, reverent Laura guiding, teaching that love could be sacred beyond vows. In the blaze, Jack saw some oaths break for greater ones. Laura found redemption in a man who cherished her wholly. They slept entwined, dreams unlonely for once. Dawn broke serene, storm spent. Jack woke to Laura on his chest, hair fan like gold. She stirred, uncertainty flickering. Regrets, only that it took this blizzard. They dressed slowly, resuming roles but altered. Now what? She asked, gazing at the blanketed world. Jack pondered. Depends on you. She turned. No secrets, Jack. No hiding. Agreed. I'll court you openly, town be damned. And when ready, marry you. Surprise lit her face. Just like that. He knelt, hands in hers. Laura Bennett, will you be my wife? Through joyful tears, yes. 7 months on, in July's warmth, Jack Reynolds wed Laura Bennett in Silver Ridges Chapel. Town abuzz some cheering, others gawking at the Chase Cowboys' turn. Victor Slade skipped town in March, nursing grudges westward. As Laura approached in ivory, Jack felt his ma's chain dissolve. She'd wanted love, not solitude, and he'd found it. Their wedding night, she murmured, no more tempests, love just clear skies. He held her. Storms come, but we'll face 'em side by side. Beyond their window, Montana's vast heavens promised endless horizons. Thunder distant not as menace, but life's rhythm. What do you think, should Jack have kept his promise forever, or was breaking it for love the right call? Share your take in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stance on vows, second chances, and defying gossip. Let's debate.